Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated you guys spending a little bit of time with me watching the video. And today I'm going to have a little conversation to tell you why red is an overrated color in the springtime of the year. Not that it doesn't catch fish, but I'm going to tell you guys sort of why it's overrated in my opinion and give you some other good color options that I think work just as good. So anyway, real quick, just wanted to give you guys a reminder. We got everything up and running good at Baitworks. Got the new Block It Old School jig up and ready for sale, guys. If you guys are interested in any of them, I'll include the link in the description of this video here. And you can get online and order you some at Baitworks over there. Man, you guys need to give this black and chartreuse a try. If you guys are fishing water visibility that's less than a foot deep, put you on a black trailer on there. If you're fishing water visibility that's 2 to 3 foot in visibility, put you a green pumpkin trailer on there. And just sort of see what happens with this spring. I think you guys will be surprised at the result. Okay, let's talk about the red, guys. Y'all have heard, I'm sure, if you guys have been bass fishing very long, you know that everybody equates springtime with red. Rayburn red crankbaits, red wiggleworts, red chatterbaits, you know, firecracker jackhammers or whatever these are. You hear people talking about red all the time. And if you guys are just getting into bass fishing, don't know much about it, there's been a big, general consensus that everybody just goes to red in the early spring, pre-spawn. And I think a lot of this, and don't get me wrong, red is a good color. It works good in the springtime of the year. A lot of it is theory. People say that it's because bass feed more heavily on crawdads in the early spring to instinctively build up protein in their systems to help produce more eggs. For the female bass, that's one theory. In my opinion, it has to do with more of the water clarity and water temperature combination from what I've seen. But what I want to talk about, guys, is the alternatives to that. I think that there's some myths in bass fishing. And one of the myths is that you got to use red in the early springtime of the year. That's not the case, guys. I'm telling you right now that a shad pattern or a fire tiger pattern work just as good as red in the springtime of the year. And a lot of this has to do with water clarity. Not only water clarity, but it has to do with the sunlight intensity in correlation with that water clarity, because all of this has an effect on the best colors for the bass. So first thing I want to tell you guys is this spring, like right now, everybody's starting to get into this red deal, red rattle traps, red crankbaits, that type of stuff. Don't feel that you have to get sucked into red, because you need to go by the water clarity more than anything else. And I'm going to give you guys some examples of this. For me, early spring fishing is all about, like I said, the combination of your water clarity, the wind, and your sunlight conditions. And here's a general rule of thumb. If I'm fishing in the early spring pre-spawn and the water temperature's in the 50s, and if I have water clarity of like probably in that 2 to 4 foot zone, my favorite crankbait color in 2 to 4 foot of visibility, regardless of the sunlight conditions, is a shad pattern. I like some type of a shad pattern. If it's a little bit dirtier, I go to more of a flat shad pattern, you know, like a solid color. If it's a little bit cleaner, I'll go to a translucent type shad pattern. But when the water's in the 50s and you've got those water visibilities, I find that a shad pattern will outproduce any type of a red that you can possibly throw. Now, if the water clarity that you're fishing is under 2 foot clarity and more in that range of like, say, 12 to 15 inches, and you have fairly dark conditions, like say it's cloudy out, it's rainy, it's early in the morning, late in the evening, by far a fire tiger crankbait will catch you more fish in the pre-spawn early spring than any other color in those conditions. Also, one of the things you want to remember is the biggest fish in the area will always bite a fire tiger. They bite the brightest right off the bat. Now, it may not be the best bait to throw continually throughout the day, but if there's a good one in there, a lot of times they will bite that fire tiger before they bite anything else. So I'm throwing the fire tiger in low light conditions, a little bit dirtier water. Now, the times that I do use red or some combination of orange and red, I'm usually not using like a straight red. I'm usually using some type of a combination of a red with some orange in it. is when I have water visibilities of between 2 to 4 feet, just like I did for the shad pattern, but I've got some type of a heavier wind or a little bit darker sky conditions. It could be a heavy overcast. It could be light rain, cloudy, 20-mile-an-hour winds. If I've got a situation where I've got fairly clean water and I've got some low light conditions as far as light intensity, that is when I find that red and orange works pretty good in the pre-spawn. But I never get locked into it. I don't care what I'm using. I always, go with that foundational thing of the water clarity and the sky conditions. One of the biggest string of fish I ever caught in my entire life was in March pre-spawn on a shad pattern rattle trap. And I've caught, excuse me guys, I've caught a ton of fish on like a fire tiger rattle trap in the pre-spawn. Another reason that I don't like using red and oranges as much as everybody else does is because everybody uses orange and red. It's just like the whole deal with that firecracker color jackhammer that you've heard about the last couple of years that you couldn't keep on the shelves. Every dang bass in the lake has seen a firecracker color jackhammer the last 2 years in the pre-spawn. So a lot of times you can go to like a black and blue or a green pumpkin or a shad pattern and catch more fish. So the point of the video, guys, don't get hung up on red in the springtime of the year. It is a decent color, but is not the best color all the time. You have to fish the conditions. You have to fish the water clarity, the water level, sunlight conditions, wind. All that affects the colors. So experiment until you hit on the right one, but don't get locked into red this spring. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in the video. Much appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button, and we'll see y'all later.